Sometimes when you revolutionize, it takes a while for the world to catch up. This might be the case with Shyft, but it certainly is kicking into gear now in a big way. We use it a lot here at BizNews, and certainly we even have a portfolio on Shyft that the BizNews community are using. Arno von Helden is the executive head at Shyft at the Standard Bank Group. He's going to bring us up to date on what's going on at the organization in the next little while. Arno, good to get a catch up with you. Shyft started 6 years ago. It's hard to believe that. We've been talking to you for such a long time. I remember in those very early days sitting at the Standard Bank building in Rosebank, and you had a dream and you had an idea, and well, today it's practical.
Yes, indeed. Well, thanks for having me back on the show. I really appreciate it. Yeah, we did. Our dream was to make foreign exchange and offshore investing and traveling accessible and easy for everyone. And I like to think we're slowly starting to accomplish that.
Have you got the traction that you would have hoped for 6 years ago?
Yeah, look, it's taken a while, but certainly in the last 18 months, the last 12 months in particular, we've seen a significant amount of traction. In fact, in the last 12 months alone, we've more than doubled our user base. And I think that, as people are starting to become more comfortable with tech and using mobile devices to do these complicated things on, and certainly as we build our brand, in the country, I think we're seeing people a lot more open to using Shyft and these kind of technologies, and that's certainly helping us. But also I think we offer a really good product. It's a really good platform, and I think it's certainly from the feedback that I've got and what we're trying to achieve, it simplifies things significantly because offshore foreign exchange can be complicated, and the simpler we can make it, the better for everyone.
And expensive, very, very expensive.
Yes.
In my own instance, we've got the story, we've got a UK business. We bring money back from the UK fairly regularly. I always use Shyft now because the cost of Shyft saves tens of thousands, not just thousands of rand, but tens of thousands of rands. How can you do that? How is it possible for you to offer such a much better deal than when one goes through a traditional bank?
Well, that's a really good question, and I think there's two components to that. I think first, the Standard Bank Group and the Global Markets division in Standard Bank is the largest foreign exchange dealer on the African continent today. We do rand dollar trading. I think at last count, we do around 50% of all rand dollar trade globally. And the rest of our competitors do the other 50%. Now, what does that mean? That means that we are able to price foreign exchange pricing against the rand. We can manage the risk better. We can therefore price it more aggressively. And that gives us a massive strategic advantage, which we're leveraging in platforms like Shyft to be able to offer the best foreign exchange rate in South Africa today.
And the idea of bringing it to the retail market, again, I've also used your products when traveling abroad and being able to immediately transfer money across into the Shyft card and use that card like a credit card elsewhere, so that the days of having to pay big fees when you use your credit card internationally are gone because you're transacting in pounds or in euros. And on the other hand, it's also very easy to transfer money to colleagues who also have Shyft cards. So we've used this, but it took me a while to kind of click to this, Arno. Are people understanding those kind of benefits relative to the old ways of, I don't know if anybody even uses traveler's checks anymore, but from traveler's checks, it was to use your credit card and then to get, I won't say ripped off, but certainly pay some quite big fees when you do get the bill coming from offshore.
Yeah, it's probably our single biggest challenge, Alec. The market is complicated in terms of how you use a credit card, or in our case, a debit card overseas. The way that the Forex pricing is done, the cost of sending money offshore, these are actually really complicated matters. And I think I'll give you an example. If you use a traditional bank to send money to your bank account in the UK or a bank account in the US, you're paying, if you're sending R500,000, you're paying upwards of R1,000 in fees to send that money. That's just the transaction costs, and that's excluding the foreign exchange margin. So the FX margin, and that is the rate that you pay to purchase dollars or euros or pounds. There's additional fees on top of that, and that can be in excess of 10,000 Rand just on that. And that's the difference between what you would pay if you're let's say buying foreign exchange on a platform like Shyft versus buying foreign exchange from some other organization that charges higher fees. And trying to get individuals to understand, how much they lose when they pay exorbitant foreign exchange rates is a very difficult and complicated process. A lot of people are happy to just kind of hand it over. They'll contact their private banker. They'll say, "Here's my 500,000 Rand. Please just make sure it gets into, or my 100,000 Rand or 200,000 Rand. Please just make sure it gets into my bank account overseas. Or I just want to make sure I can use this money while I'm traveling abroad." But they don't really understand the fees, and it's not in the interest of the other parties to explain those fees because they make a lot of money off of that. Our philosophy is very different. We want to be able to make, number one, foreign exchange, offshore investing, traveling a lot more accessible to people. So we have cut our fees down to the bones because we want to acquire as many customers as possible. We will make that up once we've got sufficient customers transacting, traveling, moving money offshore, investing offshore on Shyft, and we're happy to run this at a loss until such time that we get, or at a break-even point until such time that we get the customers. We want to attract customers to our platform, and we just need to get the message through that using a platform like Shyft is going to, in the long run, save you significant amount of money, whether you're traveling, whether you're moving money abroad, and especially if you're investing. And so that's our goal. Our big challenge right now is really communicating and getting people to understand the benefits of Shyft.
You've also opened up US shares for South African buyers.
Correct.
And that is a whole, I guess, another layer of complexity altogether on it. What was the thinking behind that? How did that come into your strategy?
So I'll tell you a story. It's actually quite simple. We launched Shyft, as you quite rightly said, about 6 years ago. And what we really did very well was we made the ability to buy and get into foreign exchange from rands extremely simple. So now you had a system where you could literally do an EFT into a rand wallet, and within seconds you could buy dollars, euros, pounds, or Australian dollars. It would clear immediately. The money would instantaneously be available to you. And so that is really the core of what we do is that we're a liquidity machine that can make the ability to move from one currency into another and back into a currency. We can make that very simple. We can give you a live rate. You can choose when to do that and how to do that and how much you want to do without having to go through a third party. You're in complete control of that. Now, when it comes to offshore investing, specifically, if you want to purchase equities on an offshore stock market, it's not that simple. The platforms that are available out there require you, first and foremost, to get the money into foreign exchange and get that foreign exchange into a bank account, but most likely overseas. So if you think of some of the well-known platforms, if you want to if you wake up in the morning and decide you want to buy Amazon shares, first you've got to get into US dollars, then you've got to get the funds into the requisite US dollar account. Now, again, you have all the same challenges as before. You've got to be able to make the payment there. Some platforms facilitate that for you, but they charge you a fortune. They'll charge you 2-3% of the value of the transaction just on the foreign exchange rate. And in all probability, you're going to have to wait a couple of days before those funds are actually available for you to trade. Now, we've simplified that. So number one, we're going to give you the best rates. So the cost of moving into dollars or euros or pounds is a fraction of the cost of what you would pay through a normal channel. And the money is available instantaneously. So what does that mean? It means that if I want to buy Amazon shares today, or Berkshire Hathaway shares today, or Tesla shares today, I can literally wake up in the morning, I can move my money straight into Shyft in rands, clears instantly, and within minutes, I can buy US dollars, select the share I want to buy, and the minute the markets open, that order is executed. And it's exactly the same way coming back. If I'm ready, I need that cash now, I can sell my shares, I can convert them into rands, and I've got that money available to me to use however I want to use it. And so because of our Forex capability, we're able to solve the first major headache for anybody wanting to invest offshore. And that is, we can get you your foreign exchange and we can give you access to that market immediately when you want to. Just a follow up. So how did it come up? It was very simple. A group of us were, using Shyft. We'd obviously developed Shyft, and we wanted to start investing offshore ourselves. I mean, investing offshore, certainly in a market and environment like South Africa, I think has become really critical to anybody's portfolio. And really, it just came down to, we want to invest offshore, but it's too complicated, it's too difficult, it takes too much time, and it's too expensive. And our idea was simply, can we leverage Shyft and the capabilities that Shyft has got to be able to make that much more simple, much more affordable for the ordinary person?
So interesting. When we kicked off the BizNews portfolio on Shyft, it was at the worst possible time. It's an exponential portfolio. It was in November, just before the big collapse. I looked at it today, and because of the Rand weakness, that portfolio is only down 6%.
Yeah.
It's only down 6%, which is quite extraordinary. Had you gone into, so you're really saying buying at the worst possible time, at the top of the market, because the Rand has underperformed so badly, and because the costs are so small of transacting through Shyft, you're almost at break even, which I think anybody in this environment would be delighted to see. But my big question on that one is, I think for many people, is fractionalisation. Easy Equities has got a fractional route into shares. With Shyft, you've got to buy one share at least.
That's right.
And sometimes that can be quite expensive. Is there any way that you would be able to replicate the fractionalisation? In other words, buy $100 worth of shares or 100 rands worth of shares even, rather than having to buy the full single entity? Yeah,
I mean, Alec, this is a question that's come up for us many times, and I know that a lot of your clients are looking at. I just want to be able to every month put $100 into a particular share. The share price might be $1,000, but I've got $100 that I can invest. And yes, that is very much on our radar. But we've also had to consider other aspects. So when it comes to development, of technology of this nature, you have to prioritize what you want to do. And so a couple of months ago, we had to make a decision. Do we go down the fractional route, or do we expand what we've already got? And what we found was that there's a lot of demand for customers that want to hold euros, hold pounds, sterling, and they want to be able to invest in those currencies. And so what we've decided to do is instead of going the fractional route and keeping it US dollar based only, we've actually taken a somewhat different stance, and that is that we want to open up Shyft to more markets. We are in the next couple of weeks going to be launching the London Stock Exchange. as well, and followed shortly thereafter by a bunch of the Euro stocks. So we're going to be adding the Frankfurt Stock Exchange and a number of other exchanges across Europe, which will allow people the same access that they've got currently with US dollars into the US markets, exactly the same system for euros and for pounds. It's only after that, once we've launched that and we've stabilized that and we're comfortable with that, that we are going to then start looking at the fractional side of things. Easy Equities have done a brilliant job with the fractionalization. But I think that our market and the research that we've done in our market is saying, let's get more markets on there. We also want to add the Johannesburg Stock Exchange on there as soon as possible, and really become a tool that gives people access to as many markets as possible. We are a little bit different to Easy Equities from the perspective of our general audience is a slightly higher net worth individual, and so generally they do tend, our average portfolio is a lot higher than I suspect the Easy Equities portfolio is. And so while fractional shares are always great, it's not the underlying driver for our investors at this point in time. I think it's a nice to have. There are, however, there are advantages and disadvantages to fractionalization. And one of the advantages that we give our customers is that our customers, if you own the share, you're actually the underlying owner of that share. That share is effectively in your name. It is your share. You have the right to attend the annual general meeting. Whereas with a fractionalized share, generally the individual that owns that share is not the underlying owner itself. They own a fraction, which is part of a CFD. And so there is certain counterparty risk that one does pick up, that should the intermediary or the business that is actually the underlying shareholder, should there be issues or challenges that can pose a problem in terms of who the underlying owner of the shares. I'm not saying that is necessarily the case with Easy Equities at all. I don't know enough about that business to understand that, but certainly in our case, where every individual that owns a share is the underlying owner of that share. And should anything happen to Shyft or Standard Bank, they will still remain the underlying owner of that share.
So just to elaborate a little bit, you say that you're also looking at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. So you've
Correct.
built this incredible technology platform.
Yes.
And now you are able to expand what the platform uses. When are you likely to be bringing in JSE listed shares?
Our hope is to have the JSE on the platform by the end of this year. Again, we're starting with London Stock Exchange. We expect that to be live imminently, followed by Euro stocks. Johannesburg Stock Exchange, there are a few complexities that we need to resolve on our side, but we're working very hard to bring that onto Shyft as well. Furthermore, I think it's also important to note that we are also developing a web-based version of Shyft, which is also going to enhance the user experience so that it's not just off a mobile phone. You'll be able to log on to Shyft through a website or a tablet. It can render on any device, and you'll be able to actually experience that from a desktop perspective, and have access to the same features and soon more enhanced features associated to trading or buying foreign exchange, etc.
It's a lovely update, and just to perhaps
that's an exclusive update.
An exclusive update. Just to support all of this, I lost my password to Shyft, and so asked for a new password, and I was so impressed that it used the camera on my phone to check my face, that it was the right face aligned with the Apple facial recognition.
That's right.
So you guys really are state of the art as far as that is concerned. Where are you in the world? I mean, I don't want you to kind of blow your trumpet too much, but do you enter these competitions of most innovative in the world and so on? Or is there anywhere in the global ranking, if it were, that where Shyft would rate?
So we've entered a number of awards, and we've actually won. We won the MTN App of the Year award outright when we launched the year after we launched in 2018. We won that last year, or at least I think in 2021, we won again the MTN App of the Year award. We won the Best Financial Services award. We won numerous awards, and I think awards are great. I think that it's a great validation of the work that we do. It's easy to sit back and go like, we think we've built a great app, but when a third party comes along and awards you something like that, it's always a wonderful feeling and a wonderful thing. But that being said, I think we are part of a big organization, and although we see ourselves as a fintech within a big organization, we are part of a big organization that really prides itself on customer acquisition and revenue. And ultimately, our goal is, regardless of the awards that are wonderful, they really are, we ultimately want to deliver a capability that services a customer in a way that a customer has never been serviced before, that offers an experience that is beyond anything available in the market today. And in return, we are able to develop a profitable and sustainable product and platform that services Africa primarily from a foreign exchange and cross-border investment perspective. To answer where we are in terms of the others, look, if you compare us to the UK and European markets, I would say that we're on par with a lot of the really good platforms out there. North America is starting to develop some really interesting stuff, but I think Africa, we're somewhat ahead of the curve, but there's a lot of competition out there. And the faster we can grow, the faster we can get and enable our capabilities across the continent, the better we'll do, and that's certainly our goal and our aim right now.
And the key, of course, is that Shyft, you do not have to be a Standard Bank customer. Anybody is welcome to it.
Exactly.
And Arno von Helden is executive head of Shyft at the Standard Bank Group. I'm Alec Hogg from biznews.com.